after the second night of feeding and allowing the beast to remain within its cage and giving in to her basest desires, the night ends prematurely for Jessica as she closes her eyes and skirts the edge of death once again. A short night for her, certainly, but one of an infinite number ahead of her. Welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York, everybody. I am excited to continue and see what Night 3 brings our dear Ventru. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark in here, the blackness of a coffin drifting into the abyss. Oh, right, the light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bedroom fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably seated on the sofa in your living space, a book in her hand. The Melancholy of Resistance. The title's sure on brand. How deviously not subtle at all, our dear Toreador patron. Good evening, Jessica. Sorry to have kept you waiting. To be fair, I haven't been here long. I was enjoying reminiscing about the time when I called this my haven. The decor was much different, of course. A haven is any vampire's personal space, theirs that is legally acknowledged by the Camarilla as their territory to do with as they see fit, etc., etc. With haven comes laws, certain things. You have to present yourself before entering somebody's haven. You're supposed to follow all these decorums to follow the masquerade, and also, discourage, murdering one another, as murdering another kindred beyond the court's ruling is illegal. Come, we have an appointment. I received word Elysium would be called again tonight on account of your unruly friend from Corona Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle. She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get in the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a small smile while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take your seat in the back. Most of the Primogen Council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you do well to learn about as well. So, Primogen Council, I thought they talked about this already, but maybe they haven't. But more detail. The Primogen Council represents the interests of the local kindred and advise the prince on matters of law and rule. Traditionally, it consists of representatives from each of the most prominent clans or factions in the domain, naturally favoring those of the Camarilla, though outsiders are allowed to report any issues to a Primogen not of their own clan. Primogen are often elders, but despite the term, Primogen from Latin means the firstborn, there are no rules in place that this is how it must be. In fact, during the last few decades, more and more councils have seen drastic changes to their structure, which is true. In my campaign, my Chicago campaign that I'm running, which you can go watch over at youtube.com/rollforward if you so choose to. But I chose Chicago in the campaign season 1. The Primogen Council was actually only made of 4, and they were a strange picking of Camarilla, as the prince had been missing for months at that point. But the Primogen Council certainly does basically shift and change with each prince, depending on what the prince puts as valuable to them and why they would want certain people on their council. But it's always good to have the most powerful clans have representation within the Primogen Council just to keep their egos at bay. Let's see. See, she wouldn't say more politics great. She's an executive, a CEO almost at this point. She knows business, and she's realizing there's no escape from this life she has before her. You never told me if there's any savoir-vivre kind of rules I should expect when talking to other vampires. Pardon if I destroyed and butchered that word. Knowing that you're among your superiors is probably the most important. In our society, status comes with age. Pardon my sincerity, but you are insignificant. Not even associating with me can make the fact that you've been kindred for barely a few nights be forgotten. So know your place. Stay out of your superior's business and show the utmost respect, which is very true. You are nothing in the eyes of everybody. Even living in a decade, being a decade old kindred can mean very, very little in the eyes of those who have been around for centuries. In the season that I'm running right now, that is what my players are. They are just season 1. They were brand new. In season 2, they're a decade into their future. And they're realizing while they definitely hold more sway over what was once a city where they meant literal nothing, for the most part, they are still ants in a colony that has many vying for king and queen. Thanking the prince for sparing you and maybe having a friendly chat with Kadir publicly might show your gratefulness for being a part of the Camarilla now. I would suggest you make it sincere. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember what I told you about reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court, mind you. Do not tarnish it. There it is. She might have saved you. She might be protecting and teaching you. But it's clear what she's really concerned about. Her own interests. You step into the art hole with something of a bad memory. The last time you were here, your entire world had been turned upside down, and your existence nearly ended. But tonight, there is very little outward hostility. Yes, Kadir gives you a look that's definitely intended to remind you of your place, but the prince, also in attendance, seems pleased to see you. Welcome, Sophie. Jessica. Did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand there is somebody else you wish to present to the court tonight. Yes, Prince. They will be joining us shortly. My assistant is retrieving them presently. This better be worth it, Prince's time, Langley. The prince gives Kadir a cold glance. Forgive the sheriff's harshness. He's in a particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with Jessica's begetter eluding his grasp, I believe. Ouch. That must have hurt his ego, even if his only reply is a crooked smile. The mention of your sire makes you grit your teeth in anger. Asshole. Settling you with the curse that cut you off from your career, cheated you out of your ambitions, offering little in return so far. You remind yourself that defeatism will get you nowhere. Mindfulness, the here and now. This is an opportunity. You will make the most of it, if only despite everyone who doubts your true worth. The flaring up of whispers in the gallery hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory enters the room, the jumpsuit-clad, inert vampire still staked on his shoulder. The show's about to begin. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectfully to Kadir. The sheriff approaches the vampire and removes the stake from his chest. The captive's eyes flicker to life and he starts looking around in disbelief, like a concerned animal. Rather, a cornered animal. He backs out on all fours, keeps going in circles until he realizes he's trapped. Kadir steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor. Why, who do we have here? Oh fuck, oh shit, oh come on, no, come on, don't. Silence. The sheriff takes on an aura of utter dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that's out to get you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel in terror. The beast inside you shrieks, and you could swear it happens in unison with the instincts of some of the other guests here tonight. It's unlike anything you've experienced in his company during your turbulent first night as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. It seems like it takes all of the hoodlum's willpower not to crawl into a fetal position and start crying. No, please. Don't hurt me, man, please. Don't. You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs at the prince's discretion. Please, go ahead, my sheriff. You heard the prince. Get up. Let's go. He doesn't wait for confirmation. He just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming out of the room. Conversations start all around you. Some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. What happens now? It'll be at least some minutes before Kadir gets the information he seeks out of the thug. Why not mingle while we wait for him to break? Excuse me. Sophie leaves your side and goes to a corner of the gallery where a group of kindred, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. A concierge offers you a drink, still warm. It smells nice. Just a sip to start you off. A splash over your palate, coating your tongue and the insides of your cheek. Nourishment. You're left to your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing here those few nights ago. She has a cold but noble countenance to her. Their conversation seems to be casual. A loud, shrill laugh turns your attention to the bespectacled man who you saw with Sophie on the night of your judgment. He's making the rounds, chatting up different patrons. You feel somebody's eyes on you. A casually dressed, plain-looking man stands alone near a column, watching you. He turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you've noticed. Okay. We can confront the man looking, chat up the man with the glasses, or try talking to the prince. How audacious of us. But I think talking to the prince is a mistake. We are nobodies, respect our elders and such, and talking to the prince would likely get us nothing but pleasantries, and beyond that, nothing more. The man who was looking at us at least shows interest, and if I know anything about vampire, finding somebody who's interested in you could be used as a tool in the future. There's something about this guy. It's not that he's staring at you. Most everybody in this room has, at one point or another. It's how he does it. He seems shy, maybe even afraid. It's hard to find a secluded spot in the gallery tonight, but this guy has an entire corner of the room all to himself. He's standing alone, no glass in hand, just a look of worry as you approach. Interesting. By himself, could be Nosferatu, but if he's plain looking, he could just be putting up a... Well, that ability's not in 5th, it's based on 5th. It's interesting. If it's a Nosferatu, that's still a very valuable ally to have. So, care to tell me what's so interesting about me that you've been looking at me since I came in? Sorry, didn't mean to pry. Just seeing how you doing. You still in one piece. That's good, I'm glad. Name's Lawson. You can call me Robert. Yeah, either one's fine. Let's not poke at him about why he's standing alone. Let's just see if we can get a little bit more info out of him. So, who are you? You mean like generally? Same as you, vampire, though I might not look quite like it. I'm one of the Prince PANHARD's primogen. I'm here on business, in case the prince requires my insight usually, so she can hear me out before she ignores me. And so our decision already pays dividends. The man who seems so very interested in us, who stands alone, who's shy, is one of the prince's primogen, a man of power. Good. Not sure if we're paying attention the other night, but when the prince mentioned divergent opinions on whether you should be executed or not, that was me. I was the diverging opinion. Okay. Not that I'm ungrateful, but out of curiosity, what was your reasoning? My reasoning? Oh, just common sense, that you shouldn't be blamed for being assaulted and essentially murdered to boot. But as Kadir loves to say, the traditions are clear. Listen, I don't want to be rude, and I appreciate you reaching out, bud. Whatever device, stay away from me. See, now that's interesting. Why? Many vampires in this sect regard my position as primogen to be kind of a joke, you know? You talk to me, they'll notice, and they'll hold it against you. Interesting. There's somebody on the Primogen Council in Chicago that serves a very similar purpose. The Ventru Primogen who sits on the council is a sort of insult to the Primogen for very many reasons, not the least of which the old prince was a Ventru, and the one who was supposed to succeed him was also a Ventru. But other Ventru find opportunities, shall we say. And now the Prince of Chicago is a Toreador. And that Ventru sits on the Primogen Council. Anyway, you have a quick look behind you and see that a few of the kindred keep shooting you curious glances. One woman especially, a red-headed, boasting a fanciful hairstyle, watches you disapprovingly. Some of them already do, I imagine. Excuse me. I need to try to get a word in with the few Primogen members before Kadir returns. Enjoy your night. With just the critical looks of a few kindred to keep you company, you start thinking about who to pursue next. You notice Sophie mingling with other kindred, clearly in her element and not to be disturbed. Kadir hasn't come back yet, so you can probably still find time for at least one conversation. Man in the glasses. The man notices your attention, but it takes a few minutes before he pauses his mingling for long enough to actually approach him. He looks at you, quizzically. Thomas Otero. Is that your name? I assumed you'd like to know. I know you. By name only, of course. Jessica? Embraced just a few nights ago, huh? Well. That was on death treating you. It takes some getting used to, for sure. Oh, it sure does. Sure does. Good thing we have an eternity to make the best of it, right? He takes a moment to clean his glasses, ignoring you completely until he's done and puts them back on. I'm sorry. Got a bit distracted. You know, most of us don't need to wear these, right? I can see just fine without them. But the statement. The damn things keep catching specks of dust and other assorted shit, though. Never stay clean for long. Sometimes I think it's more trouble than it's worth, wouldn't you say? See, they look good on him is the reason he's wearing them. I think we like it when things are clean, is what I'm gonna say. Because we know why, I mean, like, we can assume why he wears them. And we don't want to feed into it. You, like it when things are clean. Is that a thing for you? I don't think you understood what I meant. They're glasses. What use are they, if they're dirty? Alright, that was a nice chat. But I have to catch up with a few other fellows tonight. Talk to you later. Jeannie. Hey, Jeannie. He doesn't give you a chance to say goodbye. He's already off grabbing 2 glasses of a concierge tray and handing one to a mustachioed man nearby. A loud exchange near the staircase grabs everybody's attention. Kadir is back, and the hoodlum is with him. The sheriff pushes his unfortunate victim inside the room. The vampire that threatened you last night is a mess. That stupid hat still inexplicably on his head, covering some of his ruined face in a welcome shadow. He's barely conscious. His shin is broken, you think. Something protruding there, making a bulge in his pant leg. One arm seems twisted at a strange angle. Very little blood, surprisingly, but clearly a whole lot of hurt. Well, Kadir, did our guest cooperate? Tell the prince your name. It's Howard. And who do you run with, Howard? The Midnighters. An Anarch coterie, my prince. Active for some time now. Though from what this one told me, the name is about the only legacy the group kept over the years. So a coterie that's constantly exchanging members. Coterie is a small group of kindred united by the need for support and sometimes common interests. Yeah, coteries can take all forms. Basically what you would call a player party. But the well, basically they can be literally together because they're all in the same band. They can be together because they all have the same political interests. Coteries can form for any varying reasons. I see. Hey, Prince, I didn't mean it. I didn't know. I didn't. A loud crack has some of the guests audibly gasp as Kadir's slap dislocates the man's jaw. A spray of blood creates something like an abstract art piece on the floor. This one is guilty of threatening a member of the Camarilla and claiming a domain without the prince's approval. That would be enough to pass swift judgment, but he is also Anarch scum. My prince. There can only be one verdict. Final death. Do your duty, Sheriff. And final death is a vampire ceases to exist. Dead. Goodbye. Unless, of course, somebody would like to play at being a good Samaritan, like our dear Miss Langley a few nights ago. The look the prince serves you and Sophie is a cruel jest. Sophie takes it gracefully, smiling and slipping her arm into yours in a strange public show of affection. Nobody says anything. The vampire named Howard jumps to his feet and makes for the window. Ooh, we could try to make him stop, show some power, and step forward. We could physically do it, but we are Ventru. Something I'm sure the Toreador and the Bruja clan would not have the option to do. The moment you catch Howard's eye, ordering him comes almost as an instinct to you. Stop. He stops, looks at you with one eye, the other swollen closed by Kadir's interrogation. A swift slash separates his head from his shoulders. The body slumps to the ground and starts decomposing in front of your eyes. The sheriff, sword in hand, gives you a nasty smile from behind where Howard used to stand. Well, Jessica, your eagerness is laudable, if unnecessary. That Howard fellow couldn't have hoped to escape his fate, not with Kadir's expertise. However, I have made note of the show of loyalty on both your and your patron's accounts. See, a Ventru plays the game, and the Camarilla have one of the easiest games to play of all. I would like to thank Miss Langley for bringing this Anarch thug to mine and Kadir's attention. I assume all have found the verdict satisfactory. It's a rhetorical question and everybody here knows it. Then consider tonight's meeting concluded. Good night to all of you. She steps out of the room and you see that many of the guests motion to do the same. Sophie seems to be conversing with somebody, a serious-looking man in a trench coat about what transpired. You probably have the time to strike up a conversation of your own too. Kadir al-Asamai is still here, but clearly getting ready to leave for one. Both Larson and Arturo seem to have stayed around too. One is still mopping around, the other still chatting with the remaining attendants, as if nothing happened in the meantime. I think we're gonna hit up Kadir. I feel like we should just try to, talk to as many people as possible. The sheriff's mood seems to have improved, so you decide there won't be a better shot at saying your piece. He is just sheathing his sword as you approach. He notices you just before his face turns from a melancholic frown to his regular predatory smirk. You seem to have caught him at a moment of reflection. What is it, Jessica? Feed into his ego. He is the prince's sheriff. Play the game. I wanted to thank you for bringing me here in one piece, for giving me a chance. An emotion creeps onto Kadir's face that you haven't seen the sheriff exhibit yet. Is that gratitude. It's fleeting, only there for a moment, gone in the blink of an eye. See? Play the game. It was trying on my nerves, and you are still far and away from proving that it was the right thing to do. So don't think that a few kind words will let you off the hook. Still, I have to admit, I was as surprised as the prince when you jumped on the occasion to stop that Anarch from escaping. I was sure Valerie would have beat you to it. there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. Valerie, someone also eager to impress. I was wondering if you could tell me something about Sophie. She talks a lot about the Camarilla and other things, but I barely know anything about her. Oh, I can tell you something about Sophie. Some things she wouldn't want you to hear, like the fact that she's manipulative and vindictive. But then again, which of us kindred aren't? You want to know more about Sophie's past? Ask her. She's unlikely to tell you the truth, though. I'm quite sure she never told me, despite our history. That's what we do, fledgling. We exist for centuries and we lie. To our families, our friends, our lovers, to our kindred, sires and childer, and to ourselves. He picks up the sword and turns to the stairs. Good night. And watch yourself. You've messed up on my batting average, so I'll be sure to keep a close eye on you. With that final threat, he leaves the gallery. It's right about when Sophie also ends her conversation and walks over to you. Interesting evening, wasn't it? Come, Gregory's waiting downstairs. She seems preoccupied with something and not in a talkative mood. It's an awkward ride back to the city. This time, you arrive at another building, just 2 streets across from your apartment. She brings you upstairs, through a very nice lobby and a luxurious-looking hall into her domain. Please have a seat. I shall be right with you. You take in the surroundings. The apartment is like a gallery, an old-school smoking room that you've seen in some period piece once, and a nouveau riche living room, meticulously put together. Apologies. Old habits die hard. Clearly, some stick with you even after your death. She drags on the cigarette, breathes out, breathes. How is she doing that? Can you do that? Oh yes, you might not know. It takes some practice, but you can keep smoking if you'd like. Other things too. Experiment. You might surprise yourself. But I did not... Ooh, that's a typo, I think. But I did not bring you here to show off. This is where I rest these nights. That door in the back, the bedroom, similar to yours. I have servants and bodyguards in addition, of course. I brought you here because I need you to trust me. When I told you before that I needed your best behavior to uphold my good standing with the court, I meant it. But that's not the whole story. I have your interest in mind too. That's why I've given you your own haven, why I'm trying to teach you how to navigate this new reality. But you need to trust me, or else this will not work out. You can come here whenever you feel like asking me something, when you're in trouble too, though I hope that won't happen too often. I would ask you to come here when you wake up tomorrow. I'll have something to discuss with you. Trust needs to be earned, but she did save my life. But I know she's manipulative. I could just say I'll be here, but I'll be a little curious, push back a little. And why not talk right now since we're together? I still need to follow up on a few things before we speak. Patience, fledgling. That silence again. There is definitely something on Sophie's mind tonight, and she doesn't seem eager to share it with you just yet. I'm leaving for another visit. Come downstairs with me. We'll give you a lift. A quick trip, some polite goodbyes, and a promise that you'll show up tomorrow later. You open the door to your haven and gather your thoughts. It's exciting in a way, being dragged deeper and deeper into this secret society and its rules. Whatever Sophie has planned for you, it's bound to teach you more about this thing you have become. How tempting it is to continue to find your way to the center of the spider's web. You sink into your vampiric sleep with just a sliver of hope. It's a welcome change. Each night brings us closer to what feels like success, but further from what we know as peace.